welcome those who are new today. I'm just going to kick us off. I believe the recording's on, making sure that's it. I'm so happy today is a special occasion because first of all, I'm Helen Patterson. I'm the founder of Life Works Well, for those of you who don't know me. And I started this book circle at the end of last year because I love to read anyway. So I thought, why not, instead of reading on my own, why not see if community wants to gather with me? And then I did a couple books at the end of last year. And then earlier this year, I decided to make a commitment to feature women authors. So every month we've had a woman author join us. And really it's connecting life, work, love, culture, just really those who want to make a difference in the world. And so it's just been so much fun. And I met our feature author today, Angela Champ, in 2018 at a Work Human conference. And I think that's when I first met Pam, who's here today too. And with a great group of people who have connected since then. We've also spent some time going through other books on our own path, as far as anti-racism, and today is, Truth and Reconciliation Day. So honoring that, and I just love, first of all, our book today, The Squiggly Line Career, because I can relate so much. And so just a little bit about Angela, if you don't know her. Angela has been, she's had the squiggly line career, which we found out for sure. But, she's had over 20 years experience in senior and executive leadership positions in diverse industries, banking, insurance, engineering, you name it. But really, I think when I think about Angela and having met her, she's really just passionate about inspiring others and helping others reach their potential. And a lot of her work has been in the human resources field, which is fantastic because really we still need to have that human touch when we think about what's happening today in the world in so many different ways, ensuring that we have that and lifting others is what we really need. And so she's also a speaker and provides consulting work and coaching. So very, very blessed to have Angela with us today. So excited to dive in. So for those who haven't been at one of our book circles before, it's really casual. I'll ask a couple of questions to kick Angela off and about the book a little, but we never know where it's going to flow. So that's the nice thing. No pressure, and anyone can ask a question anytime. But before we dive in, I just do want to read a quick poem because it is a special day today. And it's called A Day to Remember. And so we'll just take a pause and then we'll dive in. So a day of orange, a symbol worn, a reminder of children torn from ancient ways, from loving hand, lost to a brutal foreign command. Residential schools, a shadowed past, where innocence was broken not to last. A time of fear, of pain, of dread, for lives lost and futures unsaid. We hear the stories etched in pain of grandma's braids lost again. The language stolen, the spirit bruised, the sacred teachings left unused. A void was carved, a wound so deep, while promises of healing we now keep. But still the truth must take its hold, a heavy story bravely told. The silence breaks, the graves are found, unmarked and hidden in the ground. A call to listen, to truly see the enduring harm for you and me. We must not let history fade away, but stand with survivors, come what may. With open hearts, we pledge to learn from every scar, to and from each turn, to mend the rifts and build anew a bridge to understanding, strong and true, where every child matters still, and through our actions we fulfill a promise whispered soft and low to let compassion's healing flow. that's written by Cassidy Gallant, Makaya Webkamagad, and Rita Joel, and I can send that to you later. So I did want to acknowledge that today, and I know this group. I've met everybody except Cynthia, so welcome, Cynthia. Is doing amazing work in the world to try to make a difference, to change, and just having these conversations, no matter the topic. Um, it's really important for us to continue to keep connections in the world. So thank you all for showing up today. Um, well, first of all, I just say again, I related so much to the Squiggly Line Career. And even now, as we just were talking about healing and reconciliation, I know that my path is going to continue to be even more squiggly because I'm really sort of done with human resources. I shouldn't say that. I better not post this part for my clients, but I just, you know, in a traditional sense, how about that? We're bringing in new ways of human relations, really. So the more we can bring in changes that aren't so traditional and so stuck in their ways, like we have to have the perfect candidate and everything like that, the more we can do bringing healing and love in the world, and into the workplace. So first, before we start, I want to know, because this is not your only book as well, but you said you sort of come up with an idea once in a while for your book, and your husband says, "Oh, here we go again." Can you just let us know, like, what was the process behind it, the idea generation, and what made you decide to write this particular book? We'll start with
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I would like to start by acknowledging that I am on the traditional and beautiful lands of the Semiahmoo, Kwantlen, and other Coast Salish peoples. Happy to come to you from beautiful British Columbia. And shout out to Cynthia. She's actually in my real life book club. Thanks for joining, Cynthia. And Pam, it's been so long. Pam and I also met at WorkHuman the first time through our HR community. And then I was part of, as Helen mentioned, Pam's um, book virtual book club during the pandemic, where we really took a deep dive and some lots of self-reflection on anti-racism in light of the George Floyd murder. So I feel like I'm surrounded by friends. And Kelly, by the time we're done this call, this session, I'd love that we can be friends too. This is fantastic. I feel like I'm in a really great group here. So to answer your question on the journey, I was working as a vice president of human resources and operational performance at an insurance company back in 2011. And a lot of what I was doing was talking to, at the time in my division, engagement was really low compared to the rest of the organization. And one of the things that kept coming up is people said there was no career paths for them because our head office was in Toronto and I was in the Western Division headquartered out of Calgary. So people in the West, British Columbia to Manitoba, felt that their career options were limited unless they were willing to move to Ontario, to Toronto, to our head office. And so I started talking about people not limiting their career aspirations or trajectory to just linear paths. So I had underwriters who were called underwriter one, who wanted to become underwriter two, and then become an underwriter three, who would then become a manager of underwriters, who would then become the vice president of underwriters. To them, that was the path. And so I started talking about when you can take those skills that you have in underwriting or in claims or whatever group they came from and go to a different area like claims, like marketing, like finance, because we had all of those functions in our division that it made them more marketable because it gave them a glimpse to the entire organization. So it made their promotional opportunities that much stronger. So I started talking within this company that I was working about the Squiggly Line Career and telling people, you're in underwriting, you should go work in claims. You're in claims, you should go work for marketing, and so on and so forth. I ended up writing a blog about it that was published in on LinkedIn. That was at the time the company's highest impressions um, blog, like article. And I thought, I think we're onto something. I think maybe more people need to hear this message. And that was how this came about. And here we are.
Amazing, amazing. Um, Now you mentioned a book, and it's so fascinating because I hadn't heard of the book until 2018 when I was working with a coach, one of my first coaches who was more of a spiritual coach when I think back. Believe me, I needed a lot back then. But anyway, um, she mentioned the book Scanners that you mentioned in the book. So I wouldn't mind just kind of your definition of how you came up with like what is a squiggly line career look like, how it relates to scanners. Because the reason this coach mentioned this book to me was because she said, "I think you're a scanner," and I'm like, "What the heck is scanner? Better than a scammer." But anyway, I just thought this is fascinating. So when I started reading it and your book, I was like, "This is just so like aligned to how my career has gone from lawyer to well first of all I used to flip burgers years ago as you know but way back but just the transitions and so yeah talk a little bit about this concept of squiggly line career. What are some of the traits and then related to that book Scanners. I'm kind of curious a little bit more about that.
So, in addition to scanners, another term that comes up when talking about people who have the traits of a squiggly line careerist is, I hope I get this, pronounce it correctly, multipotentiate. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that correctly. And it really describes people. I'll start with the big picture. It really describes people who have a growth mindset, who are interested in different things. They're not necessarily interested in specializing. They might be a specialist, but they're actually interested in a much more broad type. So they're always scanning, they're always looking, they're always seeing what interests me, what's out there, what can I do? I can try this. They have a courage in being an okay beginner. And what I mean by that is sometimes people don't want to get out of their comfort zone of their career or their life circumstances because they are very good at it, because they know what they're doing, and they don't want to get into a situation where I don't know what I'm doing, because then you feel like an imposter. And so if you are okay with the beginner's mindset that, hey, I'm just learning, I'm going to take baby steps, I'm going to learn, that is definitely a career trait of a scanner or a squiggly line careerist. It's somebody who has broad interests, but they all relate to each other. If you actually map it out, they do relate to each other. And I do want to say, underpinning all of that, I think it's somebody who gets bored a little bit too easily. In other words, they're okay to go and try something else because they're okay with this. I've tried it, and now I'm going to try something else. And it's okay. I don't feel like I need to do this for 40 years. Oh, and I just want to say, I read a post recently that said we tend to think of people trying something and then moving on as failure. So you have a restaurant for 10 years and you close it. Oh, it's a failed restaurant. You have a business, you have a job for 10 years and you try something. Oh, it's a failed career. It is not. I think we need to be okay with we try something or we do something, we do it as long as it fulfills us and that we're able to contribute to the world in however we want to contribute. And then when that season is over, it's okay to set it aside and try something new. And we need to stop defining that as a failure, because I think that's what keeps some people from being squiggly line careerists is they think, oh, geez, I'm a lawyer. And if I leave the law profession, are people going to think I'm a failed lawyer? Or do you say it like, now it's time to try something new, to take those skills into a new area?
Oh, I'm loving this conversation and I'm mindful. I think Pam said she had to leave partway through, so I'll make sure she has a chance to ask the question if she'd like. But that, what you just talked about here is so important, especially because I think there's so much pressure. And if you think about traditional career coaching and everything else, it's this linear up the ladder, reach the ceiling if you can. I don't know. Well, that's another debate for another day, but that's the thing. So opening up um, that you have skills that are transferable. I know even when I was in the HR profession, I was in corporate, in my old corporate world. You get siloed in sometimes, right? So I was in a corporate role, and then the line of business before I left, I couldn't find that opportunity. And it was like, this is ridiculous. You're losing all this talent that, 7, 8 years you've invested in this person. And then because these VPs wouldn't take a chance on me or something, to go from a corporate specialist role to like something where I didn't have that line of business experience. And I thought, this is so bizarre. And interesting, later when I went back and they were one of my first clients for consulting, the executive vice president said, well, why did Helen leave anyway? Like, what the heck is wrong with these? This picture of not looking at someone's skills and capability, right? So, and I think that's the other thing is we have so much tied up into our identity, like our identity is our role, and that's not the case. It's taken me years to learn that as well, but to let go of that, that doesn't define me, that I'm not as smart anymore because I'm not practicing law. Like, just, it's sort of ridiculous. It's this, is it sucking the soul out of me or not? That's the question, right? And for someone like a scanner that I did have a coach say, you get bored, really, you're bored. And I'm like, I know, but that maybe I need to just like, keep at it because I haven't like got the right, skills yet. And it's like, forget it. So I just love that I could relate now and feel like I'm part of a bigger group. And this whole movement toward generalists is coming. There's this community called Generalist World. I don't know if you've heard of it yet, but it's Nola Simon is someone I follow who's really all about promoting flexibility and remote work. And she mentioned it on a post, and I thought, yeah, that makes sense because I think there's always this, we have to be specialists or experts, and even that, like, who can call themselves an expert? No one, we're not experts yet at anything. Life is still yet to be figured out. So, thank you for that. Pam, I'm wondering if you had any questions while you're still here, and I'm just so happy to see you here. So, thanks for coming today.
Hi, I'm so glad I could make it, even though it's only for the first bit. It's so good to see you, Angela. And yes, I
You.
bought the book, I guess, like probably when it first came out. I've had it for a while. And I looked at it then, and I just brought it out again, thinking about this. And agree with Helen, like, just see, I feel a little bit more seen whenever I think this way. What I find challenging, and I don't know if you have a suggestion here, as an entrepreneur, you're constantly told to niche down, to really become known for a thing. And I really like all the things. And, I love all the clients. They might work in construction and be a male CEO, or they might work in hospitality and be a woman manager, and they might be a HR leader at a tech company. And I love them all. And the companies are different sizes, and the people are different, and the programs I do are different. And I like that. And how do I marry that I don't know, multi-potentialite squiggly scanner life with actually becoming known for something? Do you have any suggestions there?
Yeah, I do. The reason why people advise others to niche is because there's a lot of competition out there. Right, there's a lot of consultants, there's a lot of coaches out there. And so, in order to get through the noise, they think, well, if you are known as the person who specializes in green androids who only live on the East Coast, then every time somebody's like, does anybody know anybody who specializes in green androids who live on the, yes, it does. So that's why they recommend that. Having said that, it sounds like, since you like everything, you've actually already had some success in doing everything. Like, there is a commonality between everything you're doing, even though it's broad. So you've got a breadth, maybe not necessarily a depth. You're not, I don't know, maybe you do, but I don't know that you're working at a PhD level on a particular topic. But it sounds like
No.
you've got a pretty good breadth, and that you're getting clients and assignments that are not only allowing you to help those people or those organizations, but are actually fulfilling you. So I would say don't necessarily change that. Keep the everything that you're interested in. How can you break through the noise? For sure, get those clients that you've been working with and client promoting you, whether they're in their CEO groups talking about you. Get them to invite you to their their all staff meetings as speakers, get them to talk to you about you on LinkedIn, or you obviously, have testimonials in that. But get your clients who you are helping talking about how you've helped them, because somebody will hear that and see that and think, oh, you know what? That's actually the help that I need. Or I just heard about somebody else who needs that. I also know you do speak at conferences and such. And so getting out there and speaking, because people that will then see the broad range. I too, like you, I have a really broad range of topics. I talk about everything from mentally safe, psychologically safe workplaces to women in leadership and how you can become, how to become an executive, like, and everything in between, right? So it's really about getting known and getting people to start advocating for you, getting people to say your name when you're not in the room.
Mhm.
And
Thank
I would say when I think about Pam Ross and the squiggly line that connects it all is the make work awesome. And so that can be a number of things, right? So I think you're working on a book too, right? So at some point you'll have to be a guest in the future.
Yes,
But I think,
I had questions about actually process and that too, Angela, but I'm not going to bug
oh,
you about that.
oh yeah, well we can. I'm happy with that. We'll have plenty of time. But yeah, I think that is. I think I was thinking about this too, Pam. The same issue of being, the whole niche thing and become known for something and the specialist. But I think I started to get away from it being a thing. You know what I mean? Like a program or what I do, and it's more about who I am, right? And so I think that's hard. I think it's hard to in this society, um, and this whole way of how we've grown up, that it's all about the accomplishments and the acknowledgments and the this and the next. And believe me, that was where I was, right? I contemplated a PhD at one point, and I was discouraged to do it by two professors. And I thought, thank you for that, because they said, if you do you really want it, it's more about being an academic and staying in the academic. And I thought, yeah, no, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. And I'd probably get bored. So, but feel free, Pam, if you want to ask one question about the writing process itself, go ahead, because this is really an open forum. And I know you are only here for a little bit, and I'll probably get a picture with everybody in their books if they have them before you take off. So just to have that as well.
So one of the questions that stands out, because I know you have a lot of stories of other leaders, other squiggly line people woven through the book, Angela. Um, I'm curious about like the research and interview process and like finding the right people to interview, getting permission to use their story, like that whole kind of process. I'm curious what you did for that.
I'm a voracious reader, as many of you know. I have maybe 1,000 books downstairs in my basement on my bookshelves. And so some of the process is I'll read something, I'll go, yes, this exactly aligns with how am I thinking or how I think, or they said it so much better than I could have said it. I took a workshop many years ago with this woman named Kelly Thompson, and it was a workshop on just asking, so being bold enough to ask. And so after I took that workshop, I was like, I'm just going to write to these people and ask them. And so I wrote to Marshall Goldsmith, and I'm like, hey, I wrote this book. Can you blurb it? He's like, yep. I thought, oh my God, it worked. I wrote to, uh, oh my goodness, I have completely, Dave Ulrich. Oh my God, how could I forget his name? I'm like a total groupie. Dave Ulrich, who's like known as the father of modern HR. When I wrote my first book, which was an HR case study book, I'm like, hey, I really like your work. I've got this thing that I think can help people. Would you review it? And he's like, yeah. So here's the thing, ask people, especially like authors that are already like, or people that are already out there, right? You're playing to their ego. Hey, I'd love it if you did this. Cause it's like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm important enough to blurb it. So just ask. The worst that can happen is they'll say no. It's sometimes easy to get people's email addresses. They'll be on social media. I've often back before Twitter was not a thing to be on, I would just DM people on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter anymore. On Blue Sky if anybody wants to follow. But sometimes you have to go through their agent. That's a little bit harder, but just be persistent. Seriously, that's all I do is I just ask them, and they say yes.
It's a very good lesson for me to take away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Don't have
afraid to ask because
to.
we're afraid of
Yeah.
rejection, or we're thinking, oh, I'm not important enough to ask.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the ego plays a big part in it. People will be like, yeah, I'm flattered that you asked me, because they're just humans, right? They're just like us.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. And then even for people that I interviewed over 60 people for my book. And I had no clue what the heck I was doing, Pam, just so you know. Like, I started writing and then I decided this would be a good idea. And then I thought, why did I ever start this process? Because it just delayed everything. But it was really to get aggregated, anonymous information. So I wasn't going to necessarily need to worry about. But then I started getting waivers. And then also I said, you know what, if I end up putting you in the book, I'll just share that with you and make sure you're fine with it. And then I thought, that's creating more work. So happy to chat offline about recommendations on maybe how to do it a little more organized fashion, because I know a lot of PhD students who have reached out to me for research and things, they have a process, and I think it would be good to not just do it off the cuff like I did, and then how to organize all the information. I tell you, I have a book left after this, which will be how not to write a book. But can we grab? Oh, go ahead, Angela.
I just want to say really quickly. I did also, like Helen, like, because I was writing this and this topic was like in my head, because I was actually in the middle of writing it. I would often see things posted on LinkedIn, like people would just make comments about, I applied for this job and I've got all the skill, but they, because I don't have the job title, and be like, so I would message them like, I love what you posted. Like, can I interview for this book? And so a lot of the people that I interviewed on here, I actually found on LinkedIn who had posted about their experiences. I'm like, I need to write about this. Can I use you? They'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't mind. Like, I reached out to people running mentorship companies and like just said, I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm writing a book. Would you be open to me interviewing you for it? I don't know if I'll use anything. And they're like, yeah. And then it's amazing how people really will share their time. And I think a lot of your clients can probably provide a lot of wonderful input too. Okay, let's grab this quick photo just in case you're going to take off. I'm going to try to do it. Usually I have Emmeline, who's like an assistant of mine. She's here and she does it for me. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually hold up my book and do it at the same time, because I have to press all these buttons. It's not look so crazy, but let's try.
Did it? Okay.
I think I got it.
I have to go. Thank you so much, though.
Thanks, Pam.
So good to see you, Pam. We'll hopefully see you again. Yeah, so thanks for that. Now, before I ask another question, I can open it up now. If Cynthia or Kelly have a question, and introduce yourself if you don't know Angela. I think, Kelly, you might be the only one that doesn't. Do either of you have a question? Okay, Cynthia, go ahead.
Hi, Angela.
Hey, Cynthia.
First off, Helen, thank you so much for hosting this. This is wonderful. I found this discussion on LinkedIn, I think. And as Angela knows, I never used social media before. and I'm trying to increase my social media profile because I am a squiggly line careerist, although I didn't define myself as that in the beginning. I loved this book, Angela. So thank you for writing it. I'm so glad I read it. I devoured it. I got so much out of it. The first tab that I placed in this book was at the very beginning when you wrote that you need courage to be a squiggly line careerist. And I remember reading that line and going, need confidence and courage. And I was like, is that true? Because I would say to myself, or I would have defined myself as someone who didn't have a lot of courage and confidence. I think I became a squiggly line careerist out of necessity. First and foremost, I think it was always, if I don't do this, who is going to do this? And so, because I worked in an academic environment for about 16 years as a research manager, and as a research manager, I did everything. And then, life has its ups and downs, and became a stay-at-home mom for a while. And now I'm trying to start my own business as a life coach and in young adulthood. And many times throughout my journey, I felt like I didn't have a lot of confidence. And I definitely am someone who has a lot of imposter syndrome, but a lot of I think what is necessary in your journey requires confidence. And I sometimes have a difficult time finding that. Do you have any advice for somebody who just, I think because of, there's many reasons for the lack of confidence, the imposter syndrome, and all of that stuff. I think a huge part of it is as women. And for me, being a person of color, as well a minority, I've been taught my whole life not to take up space, not to bother anyone, not to reach out to people and ask them a question. You're being silly, like they don't want to hear from you. Do you have any advice for someone like that who's trying to network, trying to reach out to people, trying to ask them for like recommendations on LinkedIn and just feel like I shouldn't even ask?
Yeah, you know what, Cynthia, that goes back to what I was saying to Pam, is that people think you cannot ask, but it's amazing how many times people say yes when you ask. It's not 100% of the time, but it's a lot of times. Okay, so I'd like to answer your question this way. First of all, I would not conflate confidence with courage. Uh, Sometimes we think, oh, well, I'm not confident in this because I'm not an expert in it because I don't know what I'm doing, and then they get imposter syndrome. But remember, imposter syndrome happens because we think, oh, people are going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. But if you go into something and say, I'm a beginner, I'm new at this. Just like when a baby starts taking steps, we don't like when they fall, we don't like, you're a loser because you're not taking proper steps and running. No, we say, yay, baby, keep going. Come on, come on, come on. Right? We encourage the baby and we know they're going to fall. So I think you need to, when people have imposter syndrome, you need to think, I have a beginner. I'm going to fall, but that's okay because I'm going to surround myself with a network of people and resources that are going to help me, people who might have had more experience, or whether it's your local library or being able to do research. So that's the network that you need to surround yourself to help you when you fall so that you can keep walking. I will also say that there is some cultural appropriateness to being able to ask for help, recommendations, whatever it might be. If I were in a different culture, in a different country, I may not be so bold because it may not be appropriate. They may think it's rude or it's too aggressive. But here in Canada, North America, uh, it's not only okay. People do want to help out. So I would say take advantage of the fact that we are here and it's okay to ask. Go in saying they might say no, but they might say yes. So I'm going to ask. I'm not going to take it personally. So I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask these 50 people, and if 40 of them say no, that's okay because 10 of them will say yes. So it's giving yourself permission to be a beginner, knowing you will fall, and knowing that actually people's tendency is more to be helpful than to not be helpful. So they will ask. They will say yes if you ask them. Many of them will say yes if you ask them.
Thank you.
Such a great
Can I just say one
question.
more thing? Sorry, because I do know
Yeah, of
Cynthia a little bit.
course.
So I know you said you don't have a lot of courage, but you left a 16-year job where you knew what you were doing to be a stay-at-home mom. That took courage. And then you decided the time to go back to work. That took courage. You went back to work and you had that stint at UBC. And then you decided you were going to go back to school in order to get a coaching certificate. That took courage. And now you decide you're going to hang out your shingle and help young adults into transit. That takes courage. So I know you say you don't see yourself as somebody who has courage. I just listed 5 things off the top of my head of what you've done in your lifetime. And that's just like, I can probably give you this much. So you do have courage. You just don't recognize it as such.
I know. Thank you. And yeah, that's the other thing is the reframing. Your book really helped me reframe a lot of my experiences. Like you shouldn't call it this. You should reframe it another way. And that, yeah, amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I love that reframing and just, your own life experiences are going to inform you as a life coach, and you can help that next generation, right? With what you've gone through and to know of all of those things you accomplished. It's amazing. And I have to put a little plug in for mentorship because I'm a huge proponent of it. And there was a section in your book, Angela, on, sponsors and advocates. And I think if you were to look at your career, I mean, that's what I loved about your book, Angela, is all these practical ways to kind of like relook at things. So even as I'm transitioning into, more writing or programs and, again, another transition, and less work, which is also hard to transition to. But yeah, thinking about that community or those supports that you could go to say, hey, well, you did this, like you have a business, would you mind mentoring me if you don't have the funds to invest in a coach again? Like there's so much out there. There's lots of women forums for women entrepreneurs. And yeah, I'm sure, you'll be amazing if you had all that other experience. Kelly, I know you said you hadn't got through everything, but that's okay because listen, I have some people show up that don't even read the book, and they just come and it's always a good conversation, and then by the end of it, they're buying the book. But so, was there something that you wanted to ask Angela? Again, I can always ask a million questions, but I always like to open it up.
I'm trying. So I made it to page 79. So I've read the first 4 chapters and I just blew through it, Angela. Like what Cynthia, you were saying, it was, the reframing, and I found a lot of it very validating. Because like Helen, and it's so nice to see you, Helen. It is. Is I have a lot of interests, and I'm getting to you're never too old for a squiggly line career. And I just turned 50, and I'm finding that the old things that I used to do, like, oh, I'll take a course, I'll take this course. I don't know, I'm just tired a little bit of like, what am I doing it for? Like, what is the purpose? And I work for the government, and so I have a union position, which has, and when you were talking about the different generations, I'm a Gen Xer, and so it was very important to me to have a work, what did you call it? A work home balance, right?
Mhm.
And I always play with that with my clients in its work life balance, but I always call it work life harmony. And now you've given me another concept, another term to kind of introduce to them, because and what, like Cynthia, you were saying about how when you were balancing your family, your responsibilities, you were able to do that. And working from home, I feel like I have a lot of ambition. Um, and so I found my role, I tried to always create new opportunities within my role because I do like the security of
Mhm.
having a unionized position. I came to that realization, and I would pay thousands of dollars to keep that because to me, that brought me a lot of security, sense of stability.
Mhm.
Because for my family, that was what was really important to me. I could put my daughter on the bus, I could pick her up, I could be there. And now she's 16. So in 2 years, I'm going to be like, and so turn 50. My goal is when I'm 55 is okay, let's start to explore what else is out there. And I have a small business that I've had since 2008. And sometimes I'm really active in it, and sometimes I'm not, depending on my family life. So that's always been my creative outlet. So I've been
Mhm.
able to kind of do both. But when you retire early, you kind of still want to have an income. So I need to, and that's what I'm excited about is, and when Helen had put this out, I've seen Helen do these invitations. And what I need now is I need people who have been there and who've gone through it. So really listening to women and what they're facing and what they've done about it, because I'm not alone. Like, and I think that when you work at home, you have the illusion that you're alone, but you're not, right? So anyway, I'm just glad to be here. It's not really a
Yeah.
question, just a
Yeah. Oh,
grateful. Sorry.
there's so much of that. First of all, thank you for coming today. I'm glad you're here too, and thank you for sharing that story. there's a season for everything. So you're saying you wanted that stability and it was appropriate for your family and for your life, so you can put your child on the bus and bring her in. And as you said, in 2 years, your life circumstances, the season will change, right? And
Mhm.
so maybe now's the opportunity. Even with your business on the side, sometimes you put some energy into it. Sometimes the season's not right, maybe right now for the
Yeah.
energy. Maybe in 2 years or in 5 years, the energy will the timing, the season will be right for you to put that energy in it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Also, when people talk about work home balance, they think like every day needs to be, I only work 8 hours and I get 8 hours of sleep and I get 8 hours of fun. And it doesn't work that way. You have to look at it on the balance of it. So in a week, do you have balance? In a month, do you have balance? If
Mhm.
you're an accountant, year end, there's no balance. It's
Mhm.
work, 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 because you got to meet those deadlines. Right. And so I think people really beat themselves up about it, thinking in a very too short of a duration of time instead of thinking it more holistically. Maybe depending on where you are in your life, maybe the work home balance is actually over the course of the year. Did you get a chance to take vacations? Do you have a chance to rest on the weekends? Maybe that's the balance. And so it looks different for people depending on who you are and what you like, and what season you're in. So I
Mhm.
think that's great that you've acknowledged that. I also agree. You not only do you want income at 55, there's a lot of life ahead of you, right? When people died at 57 or at 62, it kind of made sense, right? You had your last few twilight years to golf or whatever it is you wanted to do. He was like 95. He just went to
Mhm.
Greece by himself for 5 weeks by himself, and he came back. He's 95, so there's a lot of life. So if you retire at 55, you still need something to do. You need a reason to get up in the morning. That might be taking care of your family or your grandchildren. It might be gardening, or it might be a new business because you still need something to wake up for. So
Yeah.
definitely that's part of the squiggly line, and you can take the skills that you have in your career and that you've gone from volunteering or from school or from raising your family and applying that to something different.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna do the what you had said, one of the activities in here, and just lay it out because I feel like when you look at different industries, I do have all of those transferable skills that you had listed, and I only see this one thing, and I feel like and I think it's through these kinds of conversations and having that courage to show up in a new kind of group and having these honest conversations that maybe I'll be able to start to brainstorm new options and new opportunities. So thank you. I'll do that exercise.
So great.
Yeah, thank you.
The
Yeah.
second half of the book really focuses, it's more advice for careers or for recruiters and hiring managers on how to consider squiggly line careers. Since I wrote this book in 2020, one thing that's really accelerated is the use of AI in recruitment. We always had, I shouldn't say we always had. We had for many years applicant tracking systems, ATSs, which would do things like rank candidates and that. I'm not a big fan of ATSs, but AI is starting to make it harder because a lot of organizations are using AI to filter out applications and not consider. The danger in that is that organizations will actually weaken their pool of good candidates because AI is only going to be looking for the job title. This is the job title we're hiring for? Does this person have the job title on their resume? And this book argues to recruiters as well that you need to be looking at skill sets, not recruiters. Because I'll tell you, I'll use the underwriting example from the beginning of this conversation. So I would have hiring managers that say, I want to hire a senior underwriter, an underwriter three, an external one, and I want them to have 15 years of underwriting experience, parentheses from another company because we were going to hire them. And I'd say the trouble with hiring somebody from who already has 15 years with another company is they're going to bring their way of doing things because that's what they know. But you don't want them doing it this way. You want them doing it a different way. So what you want to be looking for is this person learning agile? Does this person have a growth mindset? So I would encourage those hiring managers in the interviews to ask the candidates questions like, in the last year, what have you learned, either in a course or through a book, and how have you applied it? The number of people that say, I haven't learned, I haven't taken any course, I haven't read any book, I haven't done anything. To me, that's a no. I don't care how many years experience you have. That's a no. because that says to me, you're going to come and you're going to do it only your way. You have no other way of doing it. So when I say to you, hey, I know this is how you used to do it, but I want you to do it this way, you're going to be like, mm-mm. You're going to be resistant. And that's where the employee relations issues start, right? Let's not talk about HR. But my point is that we need to be convincing recruiters and hiring managers to see us for the transferable skills and not just the job titles on our resume, because that will actually weaken the talent pool that we have out there.
Oh, I love that so much. And it's really timely that it's so funny how the universe, this happens. I was reading the book. I was traveling recently, so I got to read it in a fun place, which was nice. And then one of my clients right now is looking to recruit. And I don't always do the recruitment. It depends. Like right now, I'm in a fractional head of HR role. So it's a little different. I'm taking on, more than I might in the past. I might delegate it to the team or things like that. But sure enough, I'm looking at the job descriptions that were drafted or postings from before. And I mean, this place, it needs a lot of work. But I thought we can't do that same old, same old. And so I'm going to be really curious now as I'm going through these resumes coming in to see what they're actually looking at and what I am looking at. Because I think that there is, again, this thought that you got to check all these boxes. And sorry, some of these job postings out there now, Angela, like I looked at them and I'm like, how are they going to find anyone when it's just like 5 pages long? Just like, really? It's just,
Yes.
it's ridiculous. So I think the world's different. This whole gig economy, you mentioned that as well in the book a little bit too, that this, like I think employers, organizations need to wake up a little bit to say, you can't expect the same type of just, same roles, no flexibility. It's just it's fascinating. It's human nature. This is why I stay where I am, because human relations is what I've been trying to shift it from human resources to human relations, because really most of my work is dealing with people trying to communicate and trying to get along and like just cleaning up messes or whatever, because instead of focusing on, all of these like rules and ways of doing things, just like thinking about what it is you want to accomplish and who has the right skills. That the thing I'll say about this company is they have given people a lot of chances, which is nice. So I think there's a lot of light there. Someone that was more in a construction role, but is now like doing like technical designs and stuff. I think, wow, okay, so they are getting it. So keep shifting them. That I was going to ask you just quickly, because a lot of the times the people that are showing up are in culture or HR positions, and so the latter part of the book was really helpful. But how do you get your word out to these organizations? Are you out speaking? Do you offer like some consulting to come into organizations to like relook at even their job profiles and things like that? Because I'm finding especially with smaller companies that haven't had a lot of HR support in the past are the ones that really, they just think they can find things on the internet. How they've managed, to be honest. It's just fly by the seat, right? So like to really just be able to say, hey, let's shake it up a bit. Let's look at things differently. Do you have a little talk you give, a workshop or something like that?
Yeah, all of the above. So I do a lot of conference talks. Fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of them tend to be geared towards human resources professionals. Sometimes you need to actually get the message out to the CEOs or the hiring managers, not necessarily to the HR professionals, but the talks are also how do you convince a hiring manager to take this approach. So I do a lot of speaking, I do workshops, and I do a lot of one-on-one talks with leaders about why they want to take this approach. So really focusing on what is this position here to solve? Like, why do you hire? Why do you have this position? What's the purpose? What are they trying to solve? And what are the skills? Like, what skills will solve this problem? And so let's look beyond. The other thing, because you were talking about, Helen, reviewing the resumes, is one thing that I have implemented in a couple of organizations is rather than actually looking at any resume, I send a 10-minute meeting request link to all of the candidates. I'm like, 10 minutes. I'll tell you in 1 minute a little bit more about the job, and you tell me what skills you have that fits what we need. About 25% of the people will take me up on it. They'll book a 10-minute meeting, and I'll tell you, I have hired some incredible gems who, if I had just looked at their resume, I would not have hired. I would not have hired them at all. And so I don't even start with the resume. I start with a 10-minute talk, and then I look at the resume, and then put the story together.
Amazing, because that gave me some ideas for this too, because I thought, the traditional screening, all of those things, but I also thought, well, why not just have, a lot of people are having people send in the videos, like just a real crisp couple, like, why do you think you're the best person for this role? And there's there's technology for that. As you know, there's technology for everything. It's like, so think about Squiggly Line Careers. Anyone that wants to start an AI career right now, good opportunity. But that, again, depends on how many are coming in, right? These are very specific. There are specific technical things, right? So generally, if you don't meet that, but then you're still getting people applying, that have meet one of the like mandatory criteria. Like some people are applying from outside of the country, and this is partially in office because of the creativity piece of it.
Right.
But I think it's just, I've been in the HR field for a long time right now, and it just feels like so much has changed, yet so much hasn't. And so with trying to bring in these other skills, the people skills, and like the creativity, agility, like the things that you talked about at the beginning that are quite skills that a squiggly line careerist has, right? How do we convince leaders to not just keep doing things the same way? I mean, and that's where we come in. So there's roles for everything. And there's roles for both Kelly and Cynthia, because lots of these leaders need coaching, and you too, Angela, because I do it even though I don't have a coach shingle. I'm coaching every day. I think it's just one of those things to open up. I loved it. I think that I'll get the word out to share this, especially I mentor a lot. And I really think that anyone in the coaching field that is doing career coaching, this would be a great resource to have.
It makes a great gift. Buy copies and give them to all your clients. It makes a great gift.
Exactly. But honestly, for you, I would think, I know you just traditionally haven't, because you've been working more with the C-suite and the executives and leaders, and I know you do coaching, but for those starting out their careers, to know that they don't have to follow the path of their parents either, but they have to follow the straight line path. And so I think I could see you, Angela, going out to, offer up this. And you should reach out to the HR Professional Association out here in Ontario to get, they have a speakers bureau. Mm-hmm. If you need the link, let me know, because I think that would be a really great, I mean, there's 25,000 or more now HR members.
Love it. I need 25,000 people from the HRPAO buying my book. That's what I need. Just go and spread the word, Helen.
I'm serious. And just, those opportunities, especially, I think the next generations, even my son just started school, his university. So I heard the term open nest recently, which I really liked, versus empty, because empty felt a little heavier, even though it's never empty. I actually wrote a poem about it. I should post it sometime. I never show that side. I mean, I do show some of it, but I just think that my daughter, who's done a master's already, and it's like, okay, well, what's next, right? And it's sort of, where does this career go? And it's okay to let go, and just you know, they're fearful of it. They think they have to just do things a certain way.
I
Maybe
know.
even med school is next. And I'm like, like I told her to go travel the world for a year. My husband said, "Why would you encourage that?" And I said, "Because she's young. She's 25, and before you know it, there's no time."
That's true.
Anyway,
Um, uh, just one comment. I actually want to take it back to another comment. My first comment is Cynthia and I also have kids about to start university, and I don't know about Audrey, but my daughter is like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I'm totally stressed out. And I said, I was an English major who switched to political science thinking I was going to become a lawyer or a diplomat. And then I ended up in operations and human resources. So don't worry about it. And the second thing is I got my master's degree 15 years after I graduated with my undergraduate. And between then, I got two certificate programs. I got an adult education program diploma, and I got a marketing communications diploma. So, you know, you don't have to do it all at once. So I like that you said to her, go travel for a couple of years if that's going to happen. I wanted to bring it back to a comment that Cynthia made, and then Helen, you said, talking about getting mentors and asking people. Sometimes we think of mentors as formal. So, Helen, I'm going to ask you if you would be willing to be my mentor. And sometimes people, particularly women, they are like full, right? Especially Gen X's, because we are like, we got the parents and we got the kids, and we're like in the middle. And so, don't feel like you have to ask for a formal mentor. Sometimes a mentor is somebody you're observing or having a coffee with. Hey, how did you do this? Or reading articles that they've written. Like you could be mentored by somebody, even if they don't become your formal mentor. So don't let that stop you. I find mentors are like friends. Like I have a lot of friends, but no one friend does everything. One friend is great to go to dancing with. One friend is great to talk about books with. One friend is great to travel with. One friend is great if I want to cry on her shoulder. No one friend is going to serve all of these needs for me. And similarly with mentors, sometimes I need mentors to help me with different things. And sometimes people don't even know they're my mentors because I'm watching, observing, and I'm learning from them, and they don't even know that they're mentoring me. So don't let that limit you.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Words from my heart, of course. Um, I have this. I follow Mentor Canada, and they talk about mentor mindset a lot.
Hmm.
And I talk about mentor moments a lot because I think you can have one mentor conversation at any time. You're always learning, and it's reciprocal. You're always learning from each other. Um, there's still a lot of people that don't make the time for mentorship, right? So even in programs, it fizzles out and things. I mentor Futurepreneur, HRPA, Startup Women Canada. I think that's how I met Kelly. Actually, I think that's how we met on one of their short term, like they had programs for like 6 months. You sign up, you just find a mentor online, and that's how we connected. But I learned a lot from Kelly, even though I was supposed to be her mentor. It was really you're always learning, and you create these connections, right? So stay tuned for that. But I'm just so grateful to have you here today. And I really enjoyed your book. I have your other book too, the employee relations one. I have, like you, so many books on my shelves that I haven't read yet. So I really would love to clone myself just for that. But that's the other reason I started this, because there are so many books I want to read. So if you ever have any recommendations, or if you ever want to join us, generally we meet the fourth Friday of the month at 10 a.m. Eastern. So it's harder for you because it's 7. But I try to mix it up. I'm still experimenting. It's the first year that I've really done this. And we've had some amazing, amazing authors that have shown up and so given their time. And I want to continue that. I would love to just continue to support, primarily women, or just people I know too, or people that, through word of mouth that, hey, Helen, this is someone I know. It just brings together people in a different way, and you can make connection. So our next book, I think we have a different day. I think it's a Thursday at noon. But generally, and then the last book, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get through it because it's quite big and it was written by a PhD. It's called, but it sounds fascinating. It's called Control. And it really is this discussion we've been having a little bit about how we don't even realize how we're being controlled in society. And just structures. So that one is going to have to be broken up into, like, I think at least 3 maybe. So anytime, if you can ever make it, and if you have books to recommend. But Angela, I loved it, and I really just loved relating to that. I feel like I've been seen as a Squiggly Line careerist, and this is the thing. I feel like we are meant to keep growing and transforming until the day that we take our last breath in a way, right? So
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, I really want to
me.
thank all of you for joining. Thank you, Angela. Reach out to Angela on LinkedIn. AngelaChamp.com is her website. And I hope to see some of you again. And also feel free to reach out to me for a chat sometime. And have a great rest of the week. The last quarter, 2025.
Amazing. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay. Thank you,
and
Helen.
Thank you, Cynthia. Bye.
Kelly. I'll see Angela soon. Bye.